ॐ विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यन्निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिरिवोद्भूतं यथा निद्रया यस्साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् So, a synopsis on Vivekacudamani. You will be starting Pujya Swamiji's book, 108 verses of selected verses, of course. Out of 580 verses, Swami Pramarthanji has selected 108 verses. And on that, Pujya Swamiji gave a talks rather, in Anekati. And they formed they transcribed and everything. And so it was now available in a book form, 108 verses. Of course, when Swamiji selected, Pramarthanji selected 108 verses out of 580, shows that the certain subject matter has been repeated again and again. So he has, selected out of that 1/5 of the whole portion. And then repetition is required. We may feel that suppose 108 verses cover all the topics of Vivekacudamani, then why 580? But then abhyasa, the repetition of certain subject matter is very important. And that is considered as one of the linga also in our Mimamsa, Abhyasa. So, Upakrama Upasamharo Abhyasaha Apurvata Phalam. Abhyasa. And that is how you have seen in Chandogya also. The Mahavakya Tattvamasya has been repeated 9 times with the different examples, but it has been repeated. So, you will find the subject matter repeated in many verses. And out of that, Swami Paramathanji selected a particular verse to make it a little more concise. Anyway, first I will give you this introduction to Vivekacudamani, and then title, of course, I will explain you, and then I will give you what are the topics involved in the entire Vivekacudamani. So there are basically in this Vedantic teaching, we have 3 main sources. We call Prasthana Trayam. 3 main sources. First is the Upanishad itself, which we call as a Shruti Prasthana. And second is a Bhagavad Gita Smriti Prasthana. And third is a Brahma Sutra, we call it as a Nyaya Prasthana. And of these 3, this Upanishad is a main one, original one, you can say. And it is Apaurushayam, it is revelation by Lord. And it is a part of the Veda and revelation by Lord through the Rishis. Anyway, so this is one. Second is a Smriti Prasthana, which Shruti means which is Shruyate. Of course, its origin is Ishvara alone. Smriti means which has come out of the mind of certain sages who have a same status like of Rishis. And that's called Smriti as such. But here Bhagavad Gita is considered as Smriti. Of course, Gita is taught by Bhagavan, then we should have a status of a Shruti. But at least it is compiled by Vyasacharya and written by Vyasacharya. So we say it is a Paurushaya. It is taken as a Smriti. And it has 2 subject matter same. Brahmajnanam also is there, and the preparedness for this knowledge also, Yoga Shastra also is there. Then third is a Nyaya Prasthanam, is a Brahma Sutra, written by Vyasacharya ji. Again, that's also Paurushaya. And it gives a logical support to Shruti. Not logical proof for what Shruti says. Shruti says you are Brahman. Now let us prove logically. No, 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 no. Because Brahman is not available for any means of knowledge, much less logic. Logic is one of the means for the human beings. Well, but Brahman is not available for Pratyaksha itself, then where is the question of doing some kind of a logic? So, even though it is a Nyaya Prasthanam, Brahma Sutra is a Nyaya Prasthanam, it gives a logical support to the subject matter of the Shruti, Upanishad. So, this is how it has been said. So, these three are main Prasthanatraya means main sources of teaching. And and Shankaracharya ji has written commentary on all the three. Still, teaching is not presented as step by step, not explicit, etc. Not explicit stages, and so only implicit. So many acharyas wrote this Prasthanatrayam in an independent work, and they are called Prakarana Granthas, and they present this same teaching of the Prasthanatraya. That teaching they present it systematically. So, I mean that there are two types of Prakarana Granthas. Some are advanced Prakarana Granthas, well, in which topic from Brahma Sutra etc. has been taken for the discussion, and Purapaksha has been refuted, other darshanas has been refuted, let us say, and these are one type of, we call them as a Siddhi Granthas, like Nishkarma Siddhi and other things. They are Prakarana Granthas, but they are advanced, definitely advanced. And Nishkarma Siddhi, basically, these Mimamsakas have been refuted thoroughly by Sureshwaracharya ji. Now, another type of Prakarana Grantha are little fundamental. Based on Bhagavad Gita and Upanishad, let us say. In the first name we can take is Tattvabodha itself. Is a very simple and beautiful Prakarana Grantha presenting the subject matter of the Vedanta very systematically. And if you expand this Tattvabodha, it is Vivekacudamani. The subject matter of the Tattvabodha has been little further expanded, that is Vivekacudamani. Anyway, I mean it's a little magnified version of Tattvabodha, Vivekacudamani. And like that, then there are Vedanta Sara and Panchadashi and Vasudeva Mananam, and so many are there, Sarva Vedanta, Siddhanta Sara, Sangraha, etc., written by various acharyas. So Atmabodha, etc., also you can take it. Anyway, and Aparokshanabhuti, and I don't want to go into that, but basically our Vivekacudamani also is a Prakarana Grantha presenting the subject matter of the Vedanta in a very beautiful manner, like Sharira Traya, etc. And then, of course, I will tell you based on certain questions asked by the student to the teacher. The answers have been given, and that is Vivekacudamani. I will explain you that. Anyway, now, so this Vivekacudamani, let us see the title now. So, word Viveka has three meanings actually. First meaning is a Viveka Shakti, we say. Viveka means Viveka Shakti, a power of discrimination. That's one meaning. Second is the Viveka as a process of discrimination. So, we have a faculty of discrimination, that is one, and then we operate that faculty operating that Shakti and so that is also called Viveka. And very faculty, like if I ask you a simple question, like you have a discriminative faculty, and if I ask you a question, will you take a tea or coffee at this time, then you think, right, what is better out of this two? So faculty was there, but now you have as though invoked that faculty, so you are operating that faculty, so that is also called Viveka. So first is the very power of discrimination, second is a process of discrimination, that is also meaning of Viveka. And third, after doing Viveka, the knowledge born out of process of discrimination, Viveka Jnanam, that is also called Viveka. So what Viveka stands for, Viveka Shakti, then the second is the very process, and the third Viveka Kriya, we call, and the third is a knowledge born of Viveka called Viveka Jnanam. Viveka Shakti, Viveka Kriya, Viveka Jnanam. All the three can be taken as a meaning of the word Viveka. And here definitely all the three are involved. This book initiates the process of Viveka, and then Viveka Jnanam is born. Viveka faculty, of course, is given to us. Viveka Shakti, power of discrimination, is given to us. Anyway, and then the meaning of Chudamani. And of course, here Viveka will be between what? So we need not have to say Sadasat Viveka, Atma, Anatma. Viveka, you can say Asatoma Sadgamaya, Mrityorma Amrutam Gamaya, etc. etc. Asatoma Sadgamaya. So there is a discrimination between Asat and Sat, Atma and Anatma, Satya, Mithya, etc. Anyway, so we can say Viveka here is Atma Anatma Viveka. Chudamani. Chudamani means what? Chuda means, Chuda is a Akaranta word in a Sanskritam. Chuda means head, and Mani means a jewel. So Chudamani means a jewel on the head. So, it's called Crest-Jewel, you can say, or head jewel. Generally, ladies wear it, and it's very distinct, Out of all the jewels on the body of the woman, the Crest-Jewel is immediately seen. So, that is, so this here also, Vivekacudamani, there are various types of Viveka a person can do, starting from what should I take between tea and coffee, right? Several types of Vivekas are there, but this is the Viveka which is really which will bring which will bring a moksha. I mean, because of which person gains a moksha. Person can attain the Parama Purushartha, etc. Person becomes free from all kinds of evils, and therefore this Atmanatma Viveka alone is a Chudamani. That's a crest jewel given to the, is there in the human being. So faculty, of course, is there. And when he studies this Vivekacudamani, he will operate that Shakti, that faculty, and along with the study, he will gain a Viveka Jnanam, Atmanatma Viveka Jnanam also will gain it. So anyway, there are several Vivekas, Dharma Viveka also. Of course, it starts with Dharma Viveka, and then later turns to Atmanatma Viveka. First, Dharma Viveka, it is very essential. One should know Dharma, one should know Adharma also, both. Why should we know Adharma? In order to, not come under the sway of Adharma, etc. So one is for following, Dharma, etc. is for following, and the other is, for definitely avoiding. Adharma is for avoiding. So you should have knowledge of both. Athato Dharma Jignasa, Athato Dharma Jignasa. Athato Dharma Jignasa, Athato Adharma Jignasa. Dharma Jignasa also should be there. One should gain knowledge of both. And once you do that and follow Dharma in your life, definitely you become mature. Dharma brings a maturity of the mind, which is the qualification for Brahma Jnanam. And then Atmanatma Viveka gives you Brahma Jnanam, and also then one leads oneself to moksha. So this is regarding title, etc. also. So Vivekacudamani is a Prakranantha, and the title Vivekacudamani I explained. Now let's go to the text proper as such. Let's see that. The whole text basically consisting 580 verses, and this 580 verses can be divided into 8 topics. So the first topic is verse number 1 to 71, which we can call it as a Upodghata or introduction. So first I will enumerate all the 8 topics. So 1 to 71, this is introduction. Then 72 to 209 is questions. Shishya has asked the questions, 7 questions, and the answers, of course, of those 7 questions by the teacher. So this is between 72 to 209, and from 210 to 253. It is discussing a Mahavakyam. So Jivatma Paramatma Aikyam is discussed there between 210 to 253. Then from 254 to 417 is a topic of Nididhyasana, assimilation. Because you study a lot, but then there should be an assimilation of knowledge also. For that, something should be, has to be described, should be described, which is called Nididhyasana, assimilation. So by dwelling upon the teaching, one definitely assimilates the knowledge and gains a result of the knowledge also. Then the next topic, the fifth topic, we can say 418 to 478 is a topic of mukti, in which is the result of this teaching, exposure to the teaching. Then 479 to 519 is a kritagnyata. Well, a disciple expresses his gratitude to the teacher because he gained knowledge, gained this Vivekacudamani basically from the teacher. So he expresses his gratitude between 479 to 519. And then 520 to 575, is the Ashirvada, Guru's benediction of a parting advice to the disciple. Disciple is now going, so he is giving a advice, last moment advice, you can say. So 520 to 575 is Ashirvada. 570 to 576 to 580 now, only that is a conclusion. So these are the 8 topics, and let's discuss few of them. First topic, which I said between 1 to 71, is this introduction, in which Shankaracharya, I remember Bhashyakara, Shankaracharya first talks about the glory of this human life, basically, because only in this human life one can hope to attain mukti. And not only that, human birth can be validated only by utilizing it to attain moksha. So glory of a Manusya Janma, Shankaracharya ji discusses here. And he mentions also that this spiritual growth is a gradual process, etc. First one has to discover the moksha, is the ultimate goal of life, and then fixing moksha as a goal. That's the first stage, and then one proceeds Shravanam, Mananam, etc. So I should know that the moksha can be attained only through Jnanam. And therefore, desire for moksha should be converted into desire for Jnanam. And so moksha ichha will be converted into Jnana ichha. And Jnanam can be attained only through Shastra. And so Shastra is, of course, a mirror the teacher keeps in front of the student. And so, definitely, where the student sees his own real nature, and there is no other alternative other than this Shastra. Therefore, Jnana Ichha should be converted into a Shastra Vichara. So, desire for scriptural studies. And definitely, and here also in Shastra also one studies a Mahavakya Vichara, etc. And you cannot analyze the Mahavakya on your own, so you need a teacher. And so you go to the teacher, and from teacher's mouth you listen to this Vedantic teaching. Teacher analyzes the Mahavakya, and you see you follow that, and you also gain the knowledge of Jivatma Paramatma Ikyam, and that will give you the mukti. So this is how ultimately Shravanam, etc. also is included here. But the problem is I might desire for Guru Upadesha Shravanam, how to find an appropriate Guru, etc. I do not have resources to find, and therefore it can only happen by the grace of Lord. So Durlabham Trayameva Itat, that's a very well-known verse of this Vivekacudamani. Durlabham Trayameva Itat Devanugraha Hetukam Manushyatam Mumukshuttam Mahapurusha Samshaya, etc. The very third verse discusses that. So once my seeking becomes intense and I invoke the grace of the Lord, I get an opportunity to do the Shravanam. And then Shankaracharya also talks about in introduction the qualification of the Guru and the qualification of the disciple also. So having introduced this much, Shankaracharya introduces a Guru and Shishya, and then presents the rest of the Vivekacudamani in the form of a dialogue between Guru and Shishya, so that he can also present how the Shishya should approach the teacher, what should be his attitude, etc. And All those things he indicate in this introductory portion between verse 1 to 71. So introduction of the dialogue. So that is first portion, first topic. And also he introduces these 7 questions through the mouth of the disciple. What is Atma? Then what are the 7 questions? First is what is Atma? What is Anatma? Then what is this bondage? Then what is the cause of bondage? Then what is mukti? Then what are the means of liberation? What are the means to gain moksha? And what nourishes the bondage, etc. And so this, all these questions, 7 questions, disciple asked Atma, regarding Atma, Anatma, then Bandha, then Bandha Hetu, cause of the bondage, and then Moksha, and Moksha Hetu, and Pratishtha. Pratishtha means what is the factor which nourishes this bondage, etc. Pratishtha means here a nourisher. So these are the 7 questions introduced in this portion also, between verse number, first portion 1 to 71. This is the essence of first 71 verses. Then from 72 to 209, well, we get an elaborate answer of these 7 questions by the teacher. What is the definition of Atma? Well, answer is, well, Atma is the consciousness. What is consciousness? Well, consciousness is a qualified word, right? Whenever you say, when you say consciousness, it is always a qualified word. It's a qualified only. Like when you say, colors and forms. So color consciousness, form consciousness. So there is sound, then we say sound consciousness. Touch consciousness. Like hot touch consciousness, cold touch consciousness, taste consciousness, sweet consciousness, sour consciousness, sweet taste consciousness, sour taste consciousness. Consciousness is always a qualified word. And let's do a practice of this. I utter few words and you see the meaning in your mind, right? When I say table, right, you will see the meaning. Car, you see the meaning. I will utter, you just see the meaning in your mind. Orange, camera, table, chair, pen, consciousness. Right? So, so when I say pen, table, this, etc., you see the meaning immediately. When I say the word consciousness, you don't see the meaning. So when I say pen, definitely there is pen consciousness. When I say table, you see the meaning, table, but of course there is a table consciousness, naturally. So because that meaning of the word, well, definitely, it occurs in your mind. So, well, of course, so pen consciousness, table consciousness. When I say car, then you see the meaning, well, car consciousness, etc. And what is this table consciousness, car consciousness, body consciousness, height consciousness, and weight consciousness, color of the skin consciousness, right? Everything is associated with the consciousness. That's how I'm saying qualified. And this basically when I say height consciousness means, well, consciousness plus the object height. Table consciousness plus the object table. Pen consciousness, well, consciousness plus the object table, or a pen. Where is pen without consciousness? So basically, so there is an object and consciousness. When I say word consciousness, there is no object involved. And when an object is not involved, you say it is a, well, there is no meaning. When I say pen, there will definitely pen consciousness, and so consciousness plus pen, object. But when I say consciousness, no object is involved. Means no, the word has no meaning. Pen is equal to, when I utter the word pen, and then you see the object pen, definitely consciousness is involved, pen consciousness. But when I say just consciousness, so for that word, there is no meaning, you are not able to see the meaning. You are not able to see the object. And if you are not able to see the meaning of the word consciousness, consciousness is a meaningless word. Will you agree? Ah, that's how it is. You won't say it is meaningless. So if the word consciousness does not involve any object, yet it is a meaningful word. What is the meaning? What's the meaning?
Background.
Subject. If it is not an object, and it is a meaningful word, it is subject. So I, the subject, is consciousness. Every other thing in the world, including body, mind, senses, ignorance, knowledge, memory, and power of the senses, the pranas, the hunger, thirst, everything is an object of consciousness. The consciousness I is the subject. I. The I is consciousness. So what is the meaning of the word consciousness? Atma, I, which is free from any objectification. Subject is always, subject is never available for objectification. That is called subject. And therefore, it doesn't have any dimension. Because when you say, well, if I say I, the consciousness has some dimension, it becomes an object. It has certain height and width and etc. Then it is definitely, it's an object. Because otherwise, how will you say it has some dimension? And therefore, I, the consciousness, is free from any dimension. It doesn't have any height. It has no height. It has no breadth. It has no width. It has no above. It has no below. It has no front. It has no back. Anything you say that it is in front means you are objectifying consciousness. That's object, not subject. So I, the subject consciousness, is free from any dimension. And well, that's how it is called limitless in terms of space. Anything which exists in space has dimension. So if I, the consciousness, the subject, has no dimension, then definitely it must be specially limitless. That's called Brahman. And then time also is an object of consciousness, etc. So time-wise also. Anyway, so I don't want to go into that. So basically, what is Atma? What is the definition of Atma? I, the consciousness, limitless consciousness, Brahman. So or we can say Atma is of the nature of consciousness, which is limitless. That's the one. Answer has been given by the teacher. Okay. Then the second question is, what is Anatma? That was his question. Atma kaha, Anatma kaha, etc., etc. I think verse number 50 or something. I don't remember right now, but it is there. So, what is Anatma? Well, Anatma has been, now that Anatma has been defined, that's a beauty here in Vivekacudamani. So, first Anatma has been defined in terms of three bodies. And later again, in later portion, again Anatma has been defined in terms of five koshas. That's how I say it is. Vivekacudamani is a magnification of Tattva-bodha. Why magnification? There also Panchakoshas are mentioned, Sharira Traya are mentioned. Yes, they are mentioned. But here on Sthula Sharira itself, Anatma, Sthula Sharira, there are number of verses, bunch of verses describing gross body. In Vivekacudamani, it is a one definition only for Sthula Sharira, Panchikruta Mahabhutaihi, etc., etc. You know the definition. Whereas the same Sthula Sharira here has been described in a number of verses. That is how Vivekacudamani is studying, or Vivekacudamani is seeing a Tattva-bodha with a magnified glass. Wonderful text it is, just wonderful. Anyway, so Anatma is defined as the body which has got three layers, you can say, from one angle, from the angle of their nature, divided into three layers: gross body, subtle body, and causal aspect of the body. And very same body has been divided into five layers from the standpoint of functions, you can say. So division from the standpoint of the nature, three shariras, Anatma. Division from the standpoint of the five functions, fivefold functions, well, it is, say, Panchakosha. So Annamaya is physical aspect, Pranamaya, the energy body, you can say if you want. Manomaya, well, this emotional personality, Vijnanamaya, intellectual aspect. and Anandamaya is this subconscious, etc., the deepermost aspect. So Shariratrayam, otherwise called Panchakosha, is Anatma. That is how Guru defines, gives an answer to the student's question. So Atma is of the nature of consciousness, and Anatma is a inert, is of the inert nature. It is material in nature. Okay, so two questions have been answered. Third question was what? Kaha bandha? What is the bondage and what is the cause of bondage, etc. So Shankaracharya ji said, well, mistaking the body as myself, mistaking the Anatma as the Atma, is the bondage. Mistaking the body, the Anatma, as myself, claiming the body as the self. That's it. We say superimposing the body upon the Atman, etc. The simple thing is claiming the body as the self is a bandha. Anatmani atma buddhihi bandha. Anatmani atma buddhihi bandha. Okay, and what is the cause of bondage? Well, it is simple. So, Atma kaha has been defined, Anatma kaha has been defined. What is bondage has been defined. Now, what is cause of the bondage? Well, cause of, it's a mistake, right? What is non-self? If you take it as a self, that's a mistake. Yes, it is a mistake. Any any mistake, well, has a cause in ignorance, and therefore all this bondage, etc., which is nothing but the claiming the non-self as the self. Well, its cause is ignorance, ignorance of the self, self-ignorance, because we are talking about here self. So any mistake is born out of ignorance, and so it is self-mistake. It is caused by self-ignorance. Anyway, so this is a fourth one. And then what is moksha? Simple, right? The destruction of this mistake, rectification, let us say destruction, it's not proper word, rectification. Rectification of the mistake. Claiming the self as a self, and well, claiming non-self as a non-self. That is how the Viveka is, discrimination is Viveka. Claiming the self as a self and non-self as a non-self. Claiming non-self as a self, well, definitely it was a bandha, mistake. Then claiming self as a self and non-self as a self, non-self. That's it. Well, free from the bondage, moksha. So moksha is nothing but it's a correction, correcting the mistake. Because its cause, the cause of the mistake, the ignorance, goes away. So in light of this knowledge, self-knowledge, self-ignorance goes away, and then the mistake which is born of self-ignorance also goes away. Anyway, so, and how do you correct this mistake? Only by inquiry. And so, jnanam or discriminative knowledge, etc., discrimination is in only, viveka jnanam alone is the means for the liberation. And here Shankaracharya talks about this, inquiry. It's like a drugdrishya viveka. He talks about it, a very, very important method, of course, in Vedanta. And in which I am the one who is a drug, and everything else is an object of experience, very powerful truth. So I am distinct from what I experience. So I experience the body, I am not the body. I experience the mind, I am not the mind. I experience the senses and the power of senses. Well, then, therefore, I am distinct from the senses. And I am distinct from the memory, because memory also, before memory comes, before I recollect, well, I was there. Even if it goes away along with the age, well, still I am there. So therefore, and I can talk about my memory to others, to Swami at least. Oh, I don't remember anything. Or Swami, you say few verses, you should remember. I don't remember anything. I tried a lot. And so you talk about the status of your memory. You can't talk about it unless you experience it. So memory also is, then knowledge. Knowledge of engineering, knowledge of this, knowledge of that. Intellect, I mean. Well, before you gathered knowledge, you were very much there. Nobody is born engineer, etc. Anyway, so that knowledge, etc. also has, how much do you know? You know. So it's an object of your experience. Ignorance also, right? Well, somebody said, well, you are born ignorant. So knowledge came later. I was there before and therefore I am not the knowledge. But I am born with the ignorance. Therefore, I am ignorant. Ignorance. At least you have this much knowledge that you are ignorant. Do you have this much knowledge? Therefore, you cannot say I am ignorant. This much knowledge you have that I am ignorant. Yeah. So you know what you know. You don't know. I mean, you know what you don't know. Both are basically objects of knowledge. Only. Object of consciousness. Anyway. So here Drugdrishya Viveka. Simple. I am the one which is consciousness, of course, and everything, including this body, mind, sense, complex, memory, knowledge, ignorance, everything is and the world, of course, everything is a object of knowledge, which is called Drishyam, object of consciousness. I am Druk, consciousness, etc. So that has been used. You will come across that. And that happens. That this always happens. That, the instrument, that's a very, very, very beautiful law. That the instruments which is given to you, and when you, if that instrument is very near to you, then you include it in a subject. Like this is an object of knowledge when I clean it. Just before we were having this Zoom meeting, I was cleaning this. So when I was cleaning it, it was an object of experience for me, definitely. So I was seeing where are the, certain, water drops were there, etc. And so I was just seeing how many stains are there and cleaning. So it was an object of knowledge. Then I put it as an instrument, right? And when I put it as an instrument, it has become subject. Now, whenever I talk about objects, I never include that. Just few minutes ago, it was an object. Now it has become an instrument, but it is so close. Then it has been included in a subject. This is how it is. The body, instrument for transacting with the world. Mind, instrument. Senses, instrument. Everything is instrument. So close, taken as a subject. Which is Drishyam, has been included in a Druk. And therefore Druk Drishya Viveka should be done. That is why it is needed. That is our job. The people who have joined here, they should resort to this prakriya very well. Druk Drishya Viveka is a really wonderful prakriya, and Acharya has introduced here in what is to be done for moksha. Well, this Viveka should be done, which will generate Jnanam, etc. So Atma Anatma Viveka basically is a moksha karan. Drugdrishya Viveka is a moksha karan. And final question, Bandha Pratishtha. What is the reinforcing factor for the bondage? What nourishes the bondage? Pratishtha means one which nourishes. So, every activity that I do other than the self-inquiry, nourishes the bondage. That's it. Every other activity other than the self-inquiry, which I do, nourishes the bondage, nourishes the ignorance, let us say. Keeps the ignorance intact. In fact, in Nishkama Siddhi, Sureshwaracharya explains very beautifully how karma and jnanam cannot go together. And there he very beautifully says this karma is born of ignorance, and karma basically, more and more karma perpetuates ignorance. And therefore, this Atma Jnanam and karma cannot go together because it's a product of ignorance, perpetuates ignorance. So ignorance and Jnanam cannot go together, naturally. So that has been explained very well in Nishkama Siddhi in first chapter. Anyway, so here, this is what is the nourisher of this bondage. Every activity other than the self-inquiry nourishes the bondage. And and then verse 210 to 263. So all 7 questions have been answered, and that is the second topic. And then from 210 to 263, as I said, there is a discussion on a Mahavakyam. Mahavakyam is nothing but this Jivatma Paramatma Aikya Jnana. And what is the significance of Mahavakyam? So when I do this Drugdrishya Viveka, I come to know that I am consciousness, the very observer you can say, and everything else is observed, which is inert matter, etc. I, the consciousness, is observer, world is inert matter, which is observed. What is the relationship? Drugdrishya Sambandha But this process basically is incomplete because I am still in duality. When you say this is drishyam and I am distinct and as a druk, the observer, then there is a duality. And therefore I have to go to the next higher level, and that higher level of understanding is that I am the druk and the observer, the world, is I am the druk which is the karanam of this drishya prapancha. So I am not just the observer of a drishya prapancha, I am the very karanam of the drishya prapancha. That karanatvam alone is has been explained in the Shastra as a Brahman. So Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma is the Karanam for the entire creation, while Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma alone lends existence to the entire creation, and that is how it is a Karanam. Well, Karanam lends existence to the Karya. So basically, Drugdrishya Viveka still keeps a duality, subject-object duality. This is what is experienced and what the one who experiences are distinct from each other. So therefore, when Mahavakya has been brought, then definitely that will resolve also. Because that Drugdrishya gets converted into Karya-Karana, then definitely that helps. And once I elevate myself to the level of this Karanam, then the status of the world will be Karyam. So now the status is not Drishyam. When I am Druk, that is Drishyam. But when I say I am Karanam, then the Drishyam becomes Karyam. And so this is a new relationship. And old relationship was Druk Drishya Sambandha. New relationship was Karan Karya Sambandha. Through Mahavakya. And so what is the benefit of this level of knowledge? Well, once I know that I am Karanam and world is Karyam, then we can derive one corollary for the Karyam. And that Karyam cannot even cannot be separate or is a non-separate from the Karanam. Just as the observed dream does not exist separate from the observer, this world also is like a dream. It does not exist separate from the observer, I. So when previously I said Druk and Drishya, there is a duality. Now when I say Karyam and Karanam, the duality disappears. So this is how it is. So like clay and pot. When we say like that, it looks as though we are counting two. And of course, for clay there is you can say one entity. For pot you can say another entity. You can say, but essentially they are one. When you're indicating a clay and you don't say pot. So there should be a corresponding object for a pot. There should be a corresponding object for the clay. But essentially they are one alone. So same way here also, Karyam and Karanam, in which the reality of both is one alone. So therefore the duality disappears. In Drugdrishya, the duality remains, subject-object duality remains. Of course that also doesn't remain, frankly speaking, because you have to go further. When you say I am conscious of the body, conscious of this, conscious of that, conscious of memory, conscious of that, so then simply I am a conscious being. Then you are also a conscious being, conscious of your body, conscious of your mind, conscious of your memory. And then you should ask further question. How many knowers, how many conscious beings are there? Then you further inquire, then you find this conscious being, the knower, he basically is a status. When there is an object to be known, when there is no object to be known, where is the knower? The knower status goes away, because knower means the ER indicates a function of knowing. But there is no object to know, then the knower status doesn't remain. Then knower resolves into what? Knower resolves into the knowledge, consciousness. And therefore there also you can go, or else Mahavakya, through Mahavakya, we can say this, Karana, Karya, Sambandha, etc. And the duality disappears. Anyway. So here same way, world which is Karyam and I, the consciousnesses are not two substances, there is only one. Idagam sarvam yadayam atma, basically. So this is Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says idam sarvam, basically. Yat ayam atma. This atma alone is manifested in this so-called names and forms. etc. So this is a topic between 210 to 253. Then 254 to 417 is a topic of Nididhyasanam, which is a assimilation of this teaching, saturating our mind, or saturating our mind with the teaching. That's called Nididhyasanam. And several methods are there. Brahma Abhyasa, Samadhi Abhyasa, two types of Nididhyasanams are there. Samadhi Abhyasa, by the way, has been discussed very well in this Vivekacudamani also. Anyway, and Brahma Abhyasa means, well, right now, which we are going to start, right? Hearing, reading, writing, discussing, teaching, all these are methods of Nididhyasana. Writing also a form of Nididhyasana. Discussing among the group, also with equals. Or somebody is teaching to you, etc. Or you are teaching. There is also a form of assimilation. This is called Brahmabhyasa. And then the Samadhi Abhyasa, that's a final version of meditation, or Nididhyasana is a meditation. Well, that is presented in Vivekacudamani, in which you sit in a particular posture, a traditional posture of meditation, etc., which has been discussed even in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita also. And, well, so it is not necessary, but if one wishes, one can sit here in this kind of a posture, etc. That also has been discussed there. And so the Samadhi Abhyasa method of Nididhyasanam has been discussed from verse number, very elaborate, verse number 254 to 470. Nididhyasanam in the form of Samadhi Abhyasa. Very well I highlighted, very elaborately discussed by Shankaracharya ji. Samadhi Abhyasa Nididhyasana. So many verses, 254 to 470. Then 418 to 478, the benefit of Nididhyasana. And benefit, well, is what? Well, definitely, since the very internalization is a gradual process, right? So basically you have a Viparya, Dehatma Buddhi, that is Anadi, because ignorance is Anadi, and therefore claiming the non-self as a self is also Anadi, and therefore it is well rooted. It's a habit, that habit which is well rooted. It takes time, and therefore when you start Nididhyasanam, you immediately won't see the benefit, etc. So it's a gradual process. The internalization, assimilation is a gradual process. So sudden benefit you may not find, well, but and the benefit at the two levels we can say. When you do this Nididhyasanam and assimilate this knowledge, well, a certain benefit at the level of mind also you can see. And well, centered on oneself, definitely now you no more claim that I am Deha, I am body, mind, sense, complex, etc. I am limitless consciousness, self-revealing, self-existing consciousness, etc. You claim that is centered on oneself. But centered on the mind also, there are some benefits. Definitely your it will help you to reduce the frequency of the negative emotions arising in the mind, like anger which was coming frequently, suppose in a day several times. Now after gaining this knowledge, etc., assimilating this knowledge, etc., the frequency of this kind of a negative frequency of the negative emotion decreases. And one, well, definitely intensity also. Earlier when getting angry means, the neighbors also come to know that you are angry now. But anyway, so intensity also reduces. Frequency reduces, intensity of negative emotion reduces. And then the third is a recovery period from that negative emotion also will be reduced less now. You recover faster, etc. This is at the level of mind. You can see the benefit of this Nididhyasana, assimilation of the knowledge. Centered on I, of course, now the I has no more any notion about that I am body, etc. So this is called a Jivan Mukti, and well, wherein the body continues because of the Prarabdha also, and Videha Mukti, because these things are discussed also in Vivekacudamani. And Videha Mukti also is that is also state of liberation. So when this body is gone, there is no question of another body, etc. Then having defined this Jivan Mukti and Videha Mukti, Shankaracharya ji also points out the difference between the Jivan Mukti and Videha Mukti only from the standpoint of a worldly people. Jnani does not see any difference between Jivan Mukti and Videha Mukti. Jnani says, I am Nitya Mukta Atma. Jnani does not say that I am now, I have got a liberation, etc. That is not knowledge. Jnani says, I was free. How did I did not know that? Like that. He was doing like this. Yeah. Yeah. Jnani came to know that I was free, I am free and I will be free. I am Atma. That's it. I have no limitation at all. That's a clarity. If you say, I will not have a birth now, I had a birth, but now I will not have a birth, that still, I think there is some problem. Some grey areas. I was never born and I will not be born. That's a jnana. Ajo nitya shashvatoyam purana. Ajah. I am by nature ajah. I am unborn. Everything is born in me and resolves in me. Where is the question of consciousness getting birth, etc. Anyway, so from the Jnani standpoint, this Jivan Mukti and Videha Mukti and all these things are not there. From worldly people, worldly angle we can say, or people from the world, well, from their angle we can say, now he is a Jivan Mukta and now once his body will fall, he will not gain another birth and therefore he will have a Videha Mukti, etc., etc. From that standpoint. So in his vision, basically body is mithya, like a mirage water. And so what will be the difference in the sand, when you see the mirage water and when you don't see the mirage water? There will not be any difference at all. So that's that kind of a thing. For him, the consciousness I alone is a reality. Everything is non-separate from me and it is just an appearance on me. And so it is simply an appearance. It's a mithya. So that is the topic. And now between first 479 to 519, then now disciple expresses his gratitude to the teacher, because the teacher alone makes this Shastra valid for him. Shastra is a pramana. Shastra's validity was through the teacher. He directly, if he has gone to Shastra, definitely it could not have served as a pramana for this person. He would not have gained knowledge. Because of the teacher he gained knowledge. So Shastra's validity is through the teacher. Anyway, so the entire this spiritual sadhana, if you see, it is very interesting. You start with the prayer of the God, and God leads me to the Guru, and Guru hands over the Shastra to the disciple in terms of teaching, and then disappears. And further this person has to work in terms of doing Nididhyasana, etc. Shravana Mananam along with the teacher, definitely. But then Nididhyasanam teacher cannot help you. You have to do. And therefore, Shastra in form of Vedantic teaching has been given to you. That's a Shravanam Mananam. Mananam also person sometimes does on one's own. But generally, when studies elaborately, Bhashyam and everything, then definitely several Purvapaksha, etc. have been raised and answered, etc. So Mananam also is been done along with the Tatparya Nirnaya through Shravanam. Also certain doubts regarding this Prameya, the Brahman, etc. also has been resolved. Anyway, so this is between 479 to 519, in which disciple elaborately expresses his gratitude to the teacher. And 520 to 575, Guru gives a Ashirvada. What did he say? Well, oh Shishya, I have handed over the mirror to you. Well, do not lose the mirror. And even if you lose anything in life, you don't worry about it, but this mirror you don't lose. Keep the mirror in the prop pocket. Anyway, and every time you bring it out and see yourself during a day. That's called Nididhyasana. That is Nididhyasana. Seeing yourself again and again and again and again and again. That is the life of sannyasa. This is the life of sannyasa, in which your mind becomes free from all occupations. All occupations. When mind becomes free from occupation, that is sannyasa for a grihastha. And that is most advantageous for Nididhyasana. Along with a lot of occupations in the mind, one cannot dwell upon the teaching, cannot dwell upon the self. So one has to gain, for Nishtha, one has to be a sannyasi. And sannyasi does not mean a formal, but definitely a internal condition in which your mind is free from any preoccupation in terms of duties and in terms of relationship and in terms of possessions and in terms of transactions and all those things. One mind has to be free, definitely. So anyway, so Guru is advising, keep looking at regular intervals while you look yourself into the mirror. Shastra, the teaching. Dwell upon the teaching, I mean. So he says you can go away. I mean, this number of verses are there, 520 to 575. So much teacher says. So you can go away and whatever you do, it's okay, but never lose sight of the teaching of the Shastra. You can be a brahmachari, you can be a grihastha. Does not mean that people are grihastha cannot gain moksha, etc. Well, grihasthas also can gain moksha. Grihasthas, when they become sannyasi, they gain moksha. Remaining in a grihastha-ashrama, when the mind becomes free from the preoccupation, that is the condition for nishtha. That is how Yajnavalkya also took. I consider that way. Why Yajnavalkya should take sannyasa? Yajnavalkya took formal sannyasa, forget about it. But for nishtha, he said clearly. And therefore, for nishtha, because if nishtha comes when you dwell upon the teaching again and again, but if it is already occupied with all these things, then where is a question of dwelling? And therefore Brahmabhyasa does not work, Samadhi Abhyasa does not work. You cannot sit in meditation, you just get up. Because mind is so much occupied. So if people remember the duties when they sit in meditation, till then they don't remember the work. Yeah, they always remember the work, what to be done today, when they sit in meditation. So this is how the things are. Anyway, so, well, this Guru's advice, etc. is there. And then 576 to 580 is just a conclusion. Means the dialogue is concluded. The Shankaracharya ji is the master of this ceremony as well. He comes perhaps that why he is called Swami, I mean, master of ceremonies. He says, well, we had a wonderful dialogue, which was in the last verse, which was very successful dialogue. And he said if Vivekacudamani could bless the student in the text, the very same Vivekacudamani can bless anyone who resort to that. Because the student is blessed in the text itself. Then you and me as a student, if we study the Vivekacudamani, we also will be blessed. That's how he said in the end. And then he concludes the entire text by glorifying the text through the beautiful metaphor, etc. Anyway. And he says, well, very beautifully, that this is a beautiful guiding text which takes the traveler, the varied traveler, who is thirsting for the peace. And for him, the spring of the peace is shown by this particular text called Vivekacudamani. So this is how, this is a synopsis of Vivekacudamani we have seen.
Thank you so much.
Hari Om, Hari Om.